Hey, the industry, spatial intelligence, world models broadly, is working really well when it comes to creation of scenes and the imagining of new scenes that haven't been made before, right? So you can think gauze and splats. But what something I've been really wondering for a while now is when we would have a model, we will have a model that is able to reach over space. Because right now we can recreate space pretty well, right? It's like I don't want to say it's fully accomplished, but a good chunk of it has been done. In terms of actual spatial reasoning beyond just action dynamics, that's much more hard. That's much harder, and nothing of the sorts I think truly exists yet. There's stuff that I think are maybe an approach to it, maybe close to the right answer, but in terms of being it, no. And I think that's once we have that. Um, that's when I can say we have a world model because with a world model, I've always imagined you can just plop a world model in a new environment and be able to reserve it and say this is the exit, this is the tightest place in the room. I can, if I needed to hide this object from this type of thing, I'll be able to hide it over here. It will understand because that's like all these are spatial tasks. Like if I wanted to go and clean my room, go to my room, grab my blanket, fold in the neatest position possible, or then fold in such a position where I can find a chunk of the house to go put this cover in that will fit or whatever. That feels like something I don't that that I don't think exists. It's a very spatial task. And I think what's interesting to me is that the more I said this before, the more I've been thinking about world models and like the idea of startups has to design our own world model, our own architecture. I've been thinking about like how I reason over space, and it's so hard to take that intuitive understanding of my spatial reasoning and say, how do I give this to a machine? How do I give this to math? Um, I don't know. I think that's something I don't know how far away it is. Like I know that the approaches are not there yet. I guess there's emerging capabilities, but I don't think emerging capabilities are where you want to rely on something like this. Like it's just a matter of like we take all our approaches, we scale them up to infinity or whatever, and then we'll have the answer. I don't think so. I think it's an architecture problem. Well, no, I think I do think it's a hard idea to even visualize or describe because it really relies on your intuitive understanding of space. So it's like something that's so basic to us, like just in terms of our reality. It's not something you can really just like say, hey, imagine if we were for not and what. Like I think the idea there's a really good picture of like a fish, like two goldfish in the water, and it's like, hey, the water is really warm or something. It's like, what do you mean water? Because like that's like it's just something we exist in, or we accept. But then the point I'm trying to get at, it's hard to visualize it, but I think the best idea I can think of is like these shows like the Pantheon or the Amazing Diddle Circus. The systems, the visual systems there, I think give a good idea of what I think a world model will be capable of, even if it's in this digital world, being able to say, I want be able to create things that are able to accomplish certain tasks and just understand why, like understand um I think imagine like puzzle pieces almost, where it's like, okay, not puzzle pieces in terms of pure geometry, but more so puzzle pieces in terms of abstract ideas in space. That's the best way. Puzzle pieces in terms of abstract ideas in space is what a world model should be able to accomplish. And I don't think we're there. I think all the science fiction um media that I really do like a lot of the AI systems in those medias are able to accomplish it. I don't know if we can really say no, I'm going to retract that statement. I was going to say I don't know if we can really call anything on world model that's not able to do that, but I think world model is like it's similar to AGI in that it's not really a technical term. It's more so I don't want to say a market term because it does feel mean. I do love the word, but it doesn't have any architecture behind it, right? So you can't really say this is not a world model. This is a world model. Um, but I do think that's where like that's the actual that not the finish line, but that's like the actual thing everyone is trying to approach. I think even with AGI, there's AGI isn't going to really come from like a large language model. I don't think that's going to be the case. Maybe it helps get to AGI, but in terms of just having a large language model, no. But I do think once you have AGI, it then should be able to say, hey, I'm in this new room and I want to do this complex spatial abstract task. I should be able to get it done. I think that's much cooler. Just even in terms of robotics, I know um, when it comes to world models, everything like the immediate applications are always going to be robotics right now. But it's like you can imagine like a robot being able to accomplish like spatial abstract tasks. I'm gonna like make a blog post about this guy. I love the analogy, spatial abstract puzzles or whatever. Um, then you can do so many things, right? You can generalize to so many new unforeseen things. But I even think with world models, I know I struggle with this a lot because, like, how do I, like, there's times where, like, the work does get daunting, where it does get repetitive, mundane. And it's like, how do I push forward? Like, what is the end goal I'm imagining? And with world models, it's hard to imagine other immediate applications besides robotics and entertainment, graphics, and computer vision. Um, but I think with large language models, I was thinking about this on the previous like a previous iteration of this video. I was thinking about it. I was like, with large language models, if you talk to me about large language models when I was like 10 years old, right? I wouldn't be able to see like the immediate applications. It'd be probably hard to verbalize what it is, I think. And because of that, I wouldn't necessarily understand like, oh, what are the immediate applications? And I even want to say coding, what are the immediate applications for a mom and pop store, right? Let's think of it like that. I think the only reason I'm able to see these immediate applications like everywhere now, be it like for vending or for architecture or any other industry, is because I've seen like 1,000, and once you've seen 1,000 applications, it's like it's easy to then generalize to a million, right? And I think with world models, or just even like any spatial intelligence model you can think of. That's not true, but like with world models, let's use world models. I was gonna say like SLAM or whatever, but I can see that can be the applications for that. But like world models, um, I don't. I think it's just a matter of getting it to consumer hands because once it's in consumer or a bunch of enterprise use cases, it's then easier to see. Okay, if it can do this pretty well, I have a tangential task, so to be able to do that pretty well, and just keeps on like scaling. Um, well, no, I think it's exciting to think about. I think certainly we will reach there. I think the reason I think we will reach there is because the problems that we want to accomplish with AI demand it. And I think the way I like to think about it for progress is that when you want to see when will something be done, you can't measure it based off the incentives for it to be done, right? Or you take that as a factor. And I think as a big incentive to do anything within space, with the space we exist, to have an AI system really reason over it, this has to be got done. It's not just like some random niche task. Like it's the ultimate task for I guess all models in some sense to be able to actually understand space, time, and all of that. Um, but I think we'll reach there. I think by the end of 2026, we're in 2026 now. By the end of 2026, we should probably have some really good advancements in robotics. I think any advancement in robotics is pretty good for world models. And then 2027 will then be the year we see more world model architecture stuff. So we should see some great advancements there. And then 2028, when I graduate, hopefully, um, actually, wonder what's going to happen then. But I definitely think spatial intelligence is going to be more of a frontier thing. I think we're going to see more consumer applications of spatial intelligence, um, like how we see with large language models. But we'll see. That largely, I think, depends on all the people in the space, including myself, to continue doing our work, to continue pushing the frontier of science, and just praying it all goes well. But besides that, I have nothing else to say. So have a great day.